Citing state achievements or addressing pressing legislative matters, this show is your go-to source for understanding how North Carolina is growing and thriving. Stay tuned as we kick off another insightful episode of Taking Care of NC.
Good morning, North Carolina. Hope everybody's doing well this morning. It's a nice day out there. I think we got today, tomorrow, and if you really believe the weatherman, which means you believe you have great faith and believe in a lot, we'll have rain on Wednesday. So I guess better get at it these next 2 days so we can see what's going to happen if it does actually rain. We could use a little rain. It's a little dry. I know my sinuses. I woke up the other morning and my nose was bleeding a little bit, and that's a rare thing for me. So it's dry out there, sort of. Be careful. Lit a fire last week. They said I could, and it's still smoldering because it's dry out there. But rain's coming, and my wife will be happy as soon as that happens. So, hey, we got Trey Robertson, newly elected city councilman at large here in States. We're going to come on the show. We couldn't get him on before the election. I don't know if he's called in yet, but we'll get him here in a second. So hopefully he'll call in and talk to us, and we'll find out, some of the things about Trey and learn a little bit, we hope, and see what happens from there. This week got a lot going on. I've been watching a whole lot. So this seeing where we're at, the U.S. Senate finally returned the continuing resolution after some 41 days. So, it and basically for nothing. It started right back where actually the Democrats in the Senate and the House both got a worse deal. We won't use the word worser, even though it looked like that. Worse deal than they would have got if they would have took the first part originally. So, they were saying, go figure, be careful what you ask for. Let's see if I can get Trey to call in. You got him? Let's put him on there and see what we got. Y'all, this isn't perfectly synchronized here. We're doing really good. Hey, this is Representative Jeff McNeely. Trey, is this you?
It is.
Hey, good deal, sir. How are you this morning?
Quite well, and yourself?
Doing well. All right. Well, we couldn't never make it work and get you on before the election, but we're glad to have you on this morning. And maybe, now that we can look back and see your triumph, that now just means you've got more work to do.
Yeah, that's like everybody in the lead up to the election was asking how was it going, and towards the end of it, you go, well, I'm just ready for it to be over. And then somebody was kind enough to remind me that if it goes the way I want, it's not really over on election day. It's only just beginning. So I guess you trade the excitement of campaign season and the election for the excitement of a new term and a new opportunity to serve the people of Statesville. So getting excited for swearing in on the 1st of December, and then we'll see with the new council what the legislative agenda looks like for the city. It's going to be exciting for sure.
Well, if you're like me, everybody asked me, when I ran for county commissioner I said, I got swore in at 10 o'clock and was getting swore at by 10:05. So there you go. So just be ready. Just be ready.
Well, hopefully the agenda for the 1st of December is slightly less contentious than that. But I'm definitely ready for that to happen at some point.
All right. Well, hey, tell us a little bit. Who is Trey Robertson? Give us a little bit of your resume, what all you've done, and who you are, and so people can get to know that didn't know you. Even some that voted for you maybe didn't know exactly. But lay it on us. Who is Trey Robertson?
Sure. So I'm an Iredell County native, graduate of Iredell Statesville Schools, and from there I went to the United States Military Academy, which is better known as West Point, from 2008 to 2012. So I like to show people that, listen, you can be from here, go to Iredell Statesville Schools, get a great education, and go anywhere you want and do anything you want from there. Graduated in 2012 with a commission in the field artillery, spent 4 years at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, which is the home of the artillery, then did a year in Korea, and then came back and then did the remainder of my time on active duty with the 101st Airborne Division out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky, during which I deployed to Afghanistan. So I had a pretty varied career going on the Army side. Then in 22, I decided that I wanted to focus more on some things that were back home. So came back home to Statesville, and I have a job with what was originally Kozlowski Advanced Manufacturing, which is now part of Adman Advanced Metals, and we do metal 3D printing and CNC machining. So it's definitely one of the most technologically advanced places in Iredell County. And then I help with my family's farm as well. So on the seal of the city of Statesville, it says industry and agriculture. And you're going to find few people that are more who more embody that and live that on a daily basis than I do when I wake up in the morning and do farm chores and then go into, without a doubt, the most advanced technological manufacturing facility in the county. It's pretty good stuff. And then I think the most important thing about me is I'm a loyal customer of G&M Milling, so that's pretty good too.
That is going to get you a lot of things. That is going to really that's going to pump up your profile ridiculously. But anyway.
There you go.
Well, and you've maybe alluded a little bit in just this little last conversation we had, but why did you want to run for an office in government and in Statesville City Council? What sparked that?
Well, I'll tell you how I thought it was kind of a funny way of it. I sat down in the barber's chair after I announced to run, and this is the same barber shop that I had my first haircut in as a little kid, and both my dad and I go there. I sat down to the chair. Barber looks at me and goes, "Your dad wasn't able to convince you to not run, did he?" No, unfortunately, he wasn't able to talk any sense into me. But well, community service through local government is something that my family does with both hands. Dad was a county commissioner for a while, and then Susan, my stepmom, she retired recently with 40 years of service to Iredell County. So we all understand that leadership, that local municipal government requires a certain amount of leadership, and that we know that, and we're willing to step up and do it. And so it became clear after I got back home to Statesville that the city council that we had, while there are some exceptional members of that council, there was also, as a group, there wasn't a clear, cohesive vision for where they wanted to take Statesville to. Some of them were just managing what they had. They were just looking at what was in front of them, but there was no vision, no direction for where they wanted the city to go. And so after a while, I went, well, if I want to enact change, I guess I need to be more involved. And so I got involved with downtown Statesville. I got involved with the planning board. And the longer I went, the more it became noticed. I started to notice that, hey, if I'm going to make any sort of tangible change, I'm not able to make that from where I am. So if I'm going to help change the direction of the city, I need to be on council to do it. Now, this ended up being an amazing election to do that. Of the 9 members of council and mayor, 6 of them, we had the potential to change 6 of them, and we changed 5 of them. So neither of the incumbents were running in my race. One was running for mayor and one was retiring. And so there was an open field. And so it was if a newcomer into county politics or city politics was going to get in, this was going to be a chance to do it. So I decided that it was a good opportunity to throw my hat into the race, and it seems like the city of Statesville thought that was a pretty good idea too. So now I get to spend the next 4 years trying to not disappoint them.
Well, and like I said, it's a great honor, it's a great responsibility, and the problems are great also, and not always easily solved. Well, and the next question I'm going to ask you, there actually may seem a little redundant because you may get it, but the first one, I'm going to go ahead and ask you both of them, and then we'll just start with the first one and go to the second. But what do you want to accomplish? And my next question is also going to be, what do you see as the biggest issue problem that is going to be facing you as a new council person or councilman with the city of Statesville? So when you wanted to do this, there had to be something or maybe some things that said, all right, I this is things that I think needs to be done, and if I can get in there, I'm going to work on it. What was there something in there that sparked your soul, or what?
Sure. So I'm going to answer those in the reverse order in which you asked.
And I don't blame you. So there you go. That's why I asked them like I did, because they kind of work together.
No, it was perfect. Yeah. So the thing that I would be concerned with is we have a large council. So So like I said, mayor and council is 9 people. So it's difficult to get 9 politicians to agree on anything, up to including what day of the week it is. And so it's a struggle to get 9 people to develop that one cohesive vision. And to be fair, Ron Smith, the city manager, is doing a very good job of making sure that as we onboard, that we're having plenty of opportunities to get used to each other, to get used to each other's ideas of what we want the city to look like. And so hopefully what we're able to do is build a unified vision of where we want to take the city. And so my concern would be that we cannot do that, because that was what hamstrung the previous council, is you had lots of different competing visions for what we should be doing, and they struggled to find a cohesive majority. And so, and several of the mayoral candidates said this, is they really don't like the idea of the mayor having to break the tie. Is the mayor in Statesville really only votes as a tie-breaking effort? What is a desired outcome is that you've got a majority on council, which represents a majority of the feeling of the city, and then we can all move forward as one. The concern is that we have 4 against 4 on vote after vote after vote after vote, and then the mayor is having to break the tie, which really doesn't show a unified effort. And there's a struggle at that point for us to coordinate with other municipal governments, the state legislature, federal government, et cetera, because if we can't really guarantee that we're going to subscribe to our own vision, then it's really difficult for us to provide leadership or to be good partners with other organizations going forward. So my concern is that either starting out or later on, we don't have that. I don't think it will be an issue. We've got a great council that's elected, and I think we're going to be able to find that. But that would be the only concern, is that going forward, we're not able to get on that same sheet of music. Now, the things that we need to be on the same sheet of music to accomplish, which are the things that I want to do and what I want to see done, are pretty brass tack stuff. Like I said, I'm an engineer. I'm an Army officer. I'm pretty straightforward, and I'm pretty down to the meat of the issue. And the meat of the issue with a city government is it needs to provide services and utilities at an exceptional standard for a reasonable cost. And so we have a significant backlog of road and sidewalk maintenance issues. We have a significant backlog of water pipes and sewer pipes. So those need to be dealt with. Within the near future, we're going to have to start cashing the checks that the previous council wrote in terms of some of the large subdivisions, especially those island annexations that they did. Because when those get built out, that's going to cost a significant amount of money in utilities, in fire engines, in police cruisers, in garbage trucks. Because every mile those put on, there's an expense associated with that. And there is not a rainy day fund that's able to just write a check for the expansion of the water treatment facilities and the sewage treatment facilities. So we need to make sure that we are allocating an appropriate amount of money for maintenance. And maintenance isn't cool. Everybody wants a new project.
It's not sexy.
In front of cutting a ribbon. Exactly.
Not sexy.
Everybody wants the new project they can stand in front of the building and cut the red ribbon on. So, I mean, on the 1st of December, we're all going to stand in front of the airport terminal and cut the red ribbon on. And I look forward to smiling and cutting a ribbon. So, I mean, I'm excited about that too. But the daily grind of making sure that sidewalks and roads and pipes and wires work, that's what the people of Statesville will really expect from us. And so the first order of business is making sure that we have a reliable set of infrastructure to run the city off of. And then the second thing is, and this is something that's just near and dear to my own heart, is the way we do land use. So coming from an agricultural background, I naturally have an inclination towards farmland preservation and our rural heritage.
Amen.
I want to keep that because I think that drives so much of Statesville's culture. Like I said, on our seal, it says industry and agriculture. And we need to keep both of those in balance to maintain that distinct Statesville culture. And so if we're going to do that, everything is trade-offs. So if we're going to be deliberate about our rural preservation, then we also need to be deliberate about making sure that we can build within the city to meet the housing, commercial, and any other land use needs that we have. So in the most recent land use study that the city of Statesville did, it reported that 28% of the developable land within the municipal boundaries of Statesville is undeveloped, which means there's already a significant volume of land or area of land that has utilities, is already annexed, and is not developed. We should focus first upon developing that before we start annexing. And we need to look at our code, because there's a number of things in our code that just don't make sense, because they're indicative of the time that the faults in planning, of the time in which they were approved. We're about to go through a code rewrite, and we're going to fix some of those. And I get it. Not everybody is really excited about arguing about what the appropriate front and back setbacks are of a R10 lot. I understand that does not have universal appeal, but it's something that my educational background does give me a certain amount of insight into. And I look forward to working closely with the planning department and the planning board to make sure that as we finish our land use code, our UDC, that we have a first-rate code that allows people to develop affordable housing, mixed-use development, any sort of projects that the city of Statesville needs to move forward into the 21st century. We need to be able to have a plan that supports that, as opposed to gets in the way of that. And so part of downtown revitalization has been a huge component of it. It has been going through and asking for text amendments to fix the code. A lot of the empty lots or dilapidated houses in some of our traditional neighborhoods, it's been a struggle to revitalize those because the code made it difficult for one reason or another to do that. So we're going to make sure that the code meets the people where they need it to, and then we're going to make sure the infrastructure is ready to support that. And that's the big stuff. Everybody else has got, I'm sure, some window dressing and pet projects they want to accomplish. We'll deal with those as they come up. But the two big things are making sure that we have the city on a sound financial status. We're able to support the infrastructure we need, and we're able to build the city that we require for the 21st century, which I think we'll be able to accomplish in 4 years. Pretty confident of it. And if we can't completely fund some of those projects, we'll at least have a sound foundation to get us to fully funding those before we need it. That's my optimistic read on it. We'll find out if I'm very disappointed or not.
Well, you've got to set goals, and you ought to set them high enough to achieve, but don't set them so low that you stumble over them. And so,
Right.
I like what you're saying. A lot of people, they want the new building, they want the new this, that, but you cannot progress forward unless you have your infrastructure in place, and your infrastructure has the ability to grow. And that's what we're getting ready to see with the water and sewer issue, especially sewer with Statesville. Troutman would love to beg some off of you, but y'all are at a point where you're going to be building just for your own needs. Now, maybe there's a chance to partner with Troutman down there and make this thing more regional. I like to say these things because this is the hope and dreams that a legislator that has both municipalities would love to see work together, because right now it's not really happening. So we'll see where this all goes, but the big thing is do you have the monetary means to do it too? You can only do what you have the money to do. But I always try to tell people you've got to be able to say the word no, and it's hard. There's a lot of good
Right.
causes. There's a lot of good things. There's a lot of wants, but there's definitely a lot of needs.
Well, and that's something that I look forward to calling attention to over the next 4 years, because everybody in my race ran saying that they were capable of saying no to certain developments if they were not going to be beneficial to the city of Statesville. Let's see how many of them have a voting record to match that. Because there were several people who, over the course of the campaign, went, well, you've never held elected office before. We really don't know how you're going to vote. Yeah, you do. You can look at the planning board meetings for the city of Statesville, and you can see my voting record. I went on record going against developments I thought were bad. And I went on record going for developments I thought were good. And so we're going to judge them by the merits. We're not going to say no to everything, and we're not going to say yes to everything. And I encourage everybody out there to pay attention to which councilmen do that and which councilmen don't do that. And then we're going to revisit that in 2 years when it's election time.
And I've talked about this, and I think I've talked about it with you. I know I have with Braden, but I've got a bill, House Bill 348, that for whatever reason nobody seems to like, but it's exactly what I feel like we need, where it slows the city down from being able to get outside their ETJ and do housing development out with land that's been in farm use, PUV, present use value. And I think, to me, that's the biggest threat to agriculture, because once you get one piece laid out there, then you connect another piece to it and another. Next thing you know, I think the game I think it's called Blockus, where you try to lay all these different pieces down on your board to make sure nobody can get inside your territory, but you end up going with this crazy looking whatever shape, geometrical shape, to stop that. Well, that's kind of how zoning goes. If you don't interfill first, you hopscotch all over the county, and next thing you know, you've got the inability to provide services because your sewer lines are running tens and 20s of miles away from the sewer plant, and so it gets
without a doubt,
very expensive.
If anybody gets bored and wants to look at the city boundaries of Statesville, it looks like a Rorschach test. It looks like somebody like a Jackson Pollock painting. Somebody just threw some ink on a wall and saw what happened, because you've got all manner of strange borders and island annexations. I mean, it is within living memory that annexations had to be approved by the General Assembly.
Yeah.
And so,
especially satellite.
You look at it and go, you look at it and go, how responsible have we been with this? And so, it's during a campaign, it's easy to run on absolutes. We're never going to do this, or we're always going to do this. That's bad governance. Good governance is we're going to look at the merits of each issue in front of us, and we're going to assess them on the merits of the case. And so, there are going to be a few options out there where or a few opportunities where somebody's going to come to us and they go, listen, we are going to build a great thing. It's going to employ lots of people. It's going to yield a huge amount of revenue to the tax base. It's going to be wonderful. It will consume minimal resources. We want you to do this. And we're going to look at it, and if it's as good as they say it is, then we're probably going to approve it. If somebody goes, hey, we've got some land that's low value inside the city, you already have utilities running to it, you already have roads running to it, we'd like to build a lot more single family, multifamily, whatever it is. But we're here to alleviate the housing crisis, and you don't have to really go with any additional outlay, because we already have all of the infrastructure in place. We're going to look at it and go, man, that might be pretty good. But if somebody comes to us with a project that is going to cost the city of Statesville a lot of money, and it's going to tax our resources, and it's going to stress our systems, then we need to have the intestinal fortitude to look them in the eye and say, no, we're not going to build that here. And then they're going to come at us and they're going to say, well, we got to build it in Huntersville. And then we're going to look at all of the people of the city of Statesville and go, do you want to look like Huntersville, or do you want to look like Statesville? And I think a lot of us live in Statesville because we love Statesville. We are from Statesville. We have spent our lives in Statesville. We want Statesville to retain the good parts of Statesville, which like we keep going back to is it's a small town feel. We've got just as much of our hearts in industry as we do agriculture, and we want to maintain that balance. And so not every town in North Carolina has sought to maintain that balance. And now I like how Braden would describe it. He goes, do you want to live in Statesville, or do you want to live north of Charlotte? And there's a lot of the towns to the south of us that are just, quote unquote, north of Charlotte. We are uniquely Statesville. We've got a unique history. We've got unique traditions. We've got unique people. We've got a unique place. And we like that. So we're going to maintain that. And so if a developer wants to come in and make it stronger, we're going to welcome them with open arms. If they want to come in and make it weaker, we're going to tell them, thank you, we appreciate what you're doing, but it doesn't meet the criteria that we've set for ourselves, because we value too much what we have here to let somebody degrade it in that manner. So,
Well, and like I said, it's tricky, but understand that's one of the reasons why I kind of enjoyed staying on the Iredell County Planning Board for 16 years. Was once land is put in, once your ideas of what you want to do with that land are put into action, that's it. I mean, it's pretty much
right.
done. Uh, it was set, commercial could turn into residential. You'd pray not, you'd hope never not. But once residential is residential and these developments are built, they don't go away after 2 years. They don't go away after 5 years. They really don't go away after 25 years. That's it. It's a different path then. So, you got to make sure you carve out the land that you need. Make sure you got plenty of room for commercial, because that's what's going to keep people here instead of driving up and down the dadgum interstate back and forth to Charlotte or wherever. Right. So it's tricky, but land use is one of the most critical things I think local elected officials do, because it is going to set the future almost for eternity. So,
certainly. I mean, and our land use, like you said, it's difficult at times to change the use. Cities are dynamic things. Cities are effectively an organism. It's an organism with 30,000 cells in Statesville. Each person, each parcel, it's all part of a larger community body, right? And so often what planners like to do is they go, well, we fixed this, or we set this as we wanted it to be. Now we're going to put it under glass or freeze it in aspic, and it'll never have to change again. Well, nobody thinks that that's reasonable, because dynamism, change, flux, that is the essence of life. Nothing is truly static if we think about it. And so what we find ourselves with is some of our core neighborhoods are static because we've abandoned our obligation to be good stewards of those resources, and we've tried to just maintain them as they are. And if you try to maintain it without letting it flex and grow, then it will only decay. And so part of what we need to look at with that code rewrite is some of the neighborhoods that people know and love. And these neighborhoods have sometimes been paying taxes to the city of Statesville for 100 years. Mm-hmm. So they're owed good services. But we've really said, well, you don't fit into a specific mold, therefore we don't have any use for you. And I know that the members of the planning staff are really eager to get after that problem set. They're excited to bring us into the 21st century in terms of which in so many ways is an older form of thinking. But what people when they describe the neighborhoods they want, they go, I want kids playing outside. I want to see my neighbors sitting on front porches. I want a corner store. I want things where I can walk to get neighborhood level amenities and services. And then you look at our code, and the code says absolutely not.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to methodically go through that and go, what parts of the code are holding us back from that dynamic, constant feeling of bringing life into neighborhoods, bringing commerce into the city, bringing a mixture of housing uses. What are we doing to stop that from happening? And then we're going to let the market step in and provide all of that. We're not going to try to subsidize what we want. We're going to allow people to do the thing that they should have always been doing, and we're going to let them run with it. And that's going to work out. It's because we've seen other places to do it. So often, very cautious elected officials will go, well, has anybody else done this before? We've got reams of case studies of cities where they've changed their code, and it's unshackled developers, it's unshackled community developers. I'm not talking about a big national home builder. I'm talking about somebody who might build 2 or 3 houses or storefronts a year, who lives in our community. Their kids go to the same schools. They go to the same churches as us. We're gonna give them the ability to do the thing that they've wanted to do, which is to incubate entrepreneurs in our own town, provide houses for our neighbors. We're gonna let them do that, and we're gonna be amazed at how fast it happens. Because I would rather have 1,000 small developers building this great community of ours than hope that one big out-of-town developer will solve our problems for us. Wow. So we're going to see. We're going to see for sure.
Well, and we've ran out of time. I appreciate it. We didn't even get to the data center and the lottery money that you're going to get to work with, but we'll do that another day because that's got to come to fruition. But it will. But good talking with you, Trey. Good luck. We're getting ready to work you like a borrowed mule and pay you minimum wage to do it. So I appreciate your service. That's what this will be.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks
Yep.
for having me on the air, Jeff.
All right. See you now. Take care, sir.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, folks, we're going to take a little break here like we always do in the middle of the show and then come back and be glad to take phone calls. So just stay with us.
Kids across America are going to school hungry. Millions of kids every day. But one simple thing can help change all of this for a hungry child in America. Good, healthy food and the energy it brings. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. To learn more about ending child hunger in America, go to helpnokidhungry.org today.
We all want more for North Carolina. More boundless views, more adventures in the outdoors, and more clean roads to get there. But to get more, we have to do less. Less littering, that is. Make it your nature to trash your trash and keep NC clean. And we'll all have more reasons to love North Carolina. Litter less, get more. For more on the 7 outdoor NC Leave No Trace principles, visit OutdoorNC.com. Sponsored by the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters and Visit North Carolina, a part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina in cooperation with this station.
We all play a role in keeping our community safe.
Every day, we move in and out of each other's busy lives.
It's easy to take for granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good,
Others not so much.
But that's life.
It's when something doesn't seem quite right.
that it's time to pay attention.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Bravo, Brenda. You've always been a saver. Price matching your price matches. The self-proclaimed queen of extreme couponing. But this time, you've truly outdone yourself. By saving for this electric vehicle, you're locking in up to $1,000 a year in fuel and maintenance savings, which will leave you saying, cha-ching, every time you unplug. Good for your wallet, great for the planet. That's the power of EV. Sponsored by the NC Clean Energy Technology Center and the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters in cooperation with the station.
A lot of places, but we all. All right, back here for the second half of the show. If anybody'd like to call in and talk about any of the stuff that Trey mentioned, or just talk about whatever, there's a lot going on. Always a lot going on if you're paying attention. 704-873-9929. Love to hear from you. That's 704-873-9929. So just give us a shout here. Well, I started out talking a little bit about it. Well, the U.S. Senate finally returned the continuing resolution after a 41-day shutdown of our government. Thank you, Chuck Schumer and all the Senate Democrats for nothing. But, you know, it come back with a couple of extras in it. It was a 60-40 vote. 5 moderate Democrats decided to stop the madness. And a lot of things were extended to January the 30th. Some things, though, actually went a little bit farther. So for the whole year of 26, they fully funded the Department of Ag, which would help with SNAP and some of your other programs like that, which I've often wondered why they were in the Department of Ag, but it jacks up their budget like crazy. It also going to fully fund FDA and the military and the VA along with that. But now here's some of the things and I want you to think about this, folks. So, okay, Chuck Schumer and the Democrats thought they were being so smart, so clever, they'll inflict pain on the American people, and with that, there will be enough uproar that it will put pressure on the Republicans and President Trump to do something. Nah, that didn't work. What did happen was, because they didn't sign the first clean continuing resolution, and believe me, a 12-page bill is as clean as it gets in federal or even state politics, y'all. That's basically a yes or a no written. It takes 12 pages to write yes or no on something. So that was pretty good. So instead, they got another bill kind of shoved down their throat that had a whole lot of other goodies in it that they wouldn't have had to have done if they'd have just took the first version. You know what that's called? Karma. Yes. So much karma. So now the extras here it actually extended some of the Trump tax cuts even more. It increased spending on national defense and deportation. And it also is going to require a $35 copay for Medicaid services per visit. So there will have to be some money spent that wasn't there before. And states are now going to have to cover a portion of the SNAP benefits. Also included in that was SNAP work requirements, even for those under the age of 24, I think. We were given an exemption that they didn't have to work. So now, if you're 18 or older and on SNAP, you will have to show some kind of work requirement, something, volunteer even so many hours you work or volunteer a month to be able to get those services. So that's good. That's not what the Democrats wanted. That's what they got. Also, it increased spending on U.S. Marshals, funding them to look after and watch more security for federal judges, the executive branch, and the Supreme Court, which unfortunately, because of the craziness on the far left, and there's a little crazy on the far right, but so far the violence we've seen seems to be far left. So we're going to have to spend more money to curb that. Going to spend $3 million less will probably end up qualifying for SNAP. And understand that during COVID, the Biden administration actually jacked the number up on SNAP as far as how much they could receive in benefits on their EBT card. So this will actually take that down, and it's also going to be looked at basically the income level. So it's probably going to knock about 3 million people off with the new income level they set up on this. Also ban certain hemp products a year from now. And this is going to be interesting right now because you've got quite a few states that have legalized marijuana, even though the federal law does not legalize marijuana. And you have quite a few that basically you can possess marijuana if it's, especially if it's medical marijuana and you have a prescription, in about 30 some states. So North Carolina, not quite there. I actually have a bill put out. Been trying to do it about the last 3 years or so, 4. This year it's House Bill 607. I do not participate in the products. I have used a CBD roll-on my knee before I had to go get my meniscus cut out and get scoped. And I don't know, it may have helped a little, not sure. But really don't really play in that area as far as consumption. But I do realize we have no regulations in the state of North Carolina on cannabinoid hemp products. Now, when I say that, these are products that are 0.3 or less THC, which is the hallucinogenic property of marijuana. So these are your CBDs. These are a lot of different type of vapes out. This is TCHA, TCHB, TCH, I think there's a D. I don't know. It's almost like the alphabet. There's so many different variations they've come up with on the product that's supposedly not the Delta 9 hallucinogenic. Or is it Delta 8? I got to get my numbers right. I've done this. Delta 8, Delta 8. I tell you what, there's so many numbers thrown at you, so many different acronyms. You get lost in the shuffle sometimes, but pardon me for that. So anyway, we have nothing. Basically, a 10-year-old can walk into a vape shop, cannot purchase any cigarettes or tobacco products, but could buy these cannabinoid products right now. And we don't really have any labeling, and we don't have any kind of really required analysis on it as far as what's in it or the testing to prove what's in it's there and what's bad is not there. So these are stuff that's in my bill. Hopefully I'm going to get it passed this spring. I pray, even though they may end up killing the whole thing in a year from now, next November. I still think North Carolina needs to have stuff on its books. I'm sure there's going to be a great debate and they're going to go back and forth, and we need to be proactive, not reactive. And I'm afraid that's where we're going to be. Now, the one thing I will tell you is the one thing that was not in the Senate's continuing resolution had anything to do with ACA subsidies. That's the American Affordable Care Act. So, and that's the whole reason the Democrats shut down the government was for that and did not get. And know this, the Democrats did vote twice or more, I know at least twice, against paying our military and essential government employees during the shutdown until the government opened back up. So remember that. They were very spiteful, in my opinion, in the way they went about it to basically achieve nothing. So know this too, though. One little caveat was stuck in there that I thought was kind of unusual, and it has to do with the Arctic frost investigation and then the investigation of Arctic frost, which basically was that the Biden administration was using the Department of Justice, FBI, to spy on, I think it was about 8 senators and 1 or 2 over in the House of Representatives, to try to see if they were in collusion, thinking they would overthrow our government. This all they used the cover for this was January 6th, but yet they were doing this 2 years after January 6th, still surveillance in them, still had the ability from some of the cell carriers to be able to get their text and listen also in on their conversations. So they were basically being completely spied on by their own government without their knowledge. And these are elected officials to our United States Congress, Senate. So in there, they put a provision where they could sue for up to $500,000 per incident going forward anytime that the FBI or the Department of Justice or whatever branch it may be out there, there's quite a few, CIA, whatever, is spying on elected officials that are senators or U.S. Congress people. So this is hopefully going to curtail trying to use, once an administration gets into power, from being able to weaponize basically our justice system against whoever they please. Now, once again, we love to hear how, Trump is a threat to democracy. And this is what I have found. When the left cries for whatever, usually that's what they're guilty of. They're pretty good at being hypocrites in this. And if there's ever been a threat to our democracy, this Arctic frost, that's it, folks. That's definitely it. When you're spying on members of the Senate and on the members of Congress, and they're what you would consider your political foes, and using the Justice Department to do it, that's a threat to democracy. This, to me, makes Watergate look like a bumbled burglary, which is what it was, that really found nothing. But yet that was an encroachment too. And my goodness, we made some kind of more spectacle back then. If we live by the same principles now that we did back in the 70s, what would we do to the people that decided to do Arctic frost? Would this be considered treason? Would we hang them? Just thinking. You tell me. So, anyway, I just know this. Going forward, I still say this is the worst thing that we've seen in a long, long time. So anybody want to call in and talk about that, we'd be glad to. We're going to talk a little bit real quick here about ICE, and then I got to start getting into some of my other stuff here. But so ICE and the Border Patrol have come to Charlotte. So far, 81 arrests have been made. There are people who have been convicted or charged with a serious crime and are here illegally. Now, I actually got to go on, I think, what was it? Wasn't Newsmax yesterday. I got News Nation. Got to get my right news together. News Nation wanted me to expound a little bit on our immigration issues and ICE and the Border Patrol coming to Charlotte. And tell you the truth, the Border Patrol works kind of a little different than what ICE does. The Border Patrol don't mess around. They're coming and they're going to grab you and they're going to get you out of here pretty quick. ICE seems to take a little bit longer. So I guess, since we've got the border under control, we actually have a surplus of agents that can come up here and help with other issues in immigration besides just keeping people from entering the United States. But Sheriff McFadden in Charlotte came on, or in Mecklenburg County, and talked about how this was wrong and this, that, and the other. Well, once again, much like what we heard just a little earlier with the continuing resolution, if they didn't want this, then Sheriff McFadden should have been doing his job all along, and he hasn't. He is one of the main reasons, him and the sheriff that was at Wake County that lost the last election, we had to actually take them to court and sue them to get them to follow the laws that the General Assembly passed, because they were not doing it, and they're still not doing a real good job of it. And basically that's why we've had to pass multiple bills that requires our local law enforcement agencies to work with ICE, work with our immigration. So they were letting people bond out. It's almost, I hate to use the word comical because it's sad, but they were letting people bond out that had immigration issues faster than they were normal U.S. citizens charged with the same thing in Charlotte, and giving them lower bonds to help them get out so they wouldn't be detained and would be gone by the time ICE would show up, especially if the arrest may happen on a Friday. ICE might not be able to get there on Monday, and they were making sure they were gone before ICE ever showed up. So what ICE and the Border Patrol are doing in Charlotte right now is they're basically just following up on these people, finding them that should have been gotten anyway and already deported from our country, but have lingered around because of the justice system in Mecklenburg, and the DA down there too has not been helping, Mr. Merriweather. And so next thing you know, karma once again comes around to play, and so they come to town and they've gone after these people and these are ones that they're trying to get. Now there may be some collateral damage. I'm not going to tell you there isn't. If there happens to be some people with the bad people, they maybe go ahead and getting them all if they're here illegally. So, you know, once again, and I have a lot of people talk to me on the ag side, and I get it. We need good quality labor to help us milk cows, pick up eggs, do the things, you know, whatever. It's not just vegetables. It's not just picking tobacco. There's 12-month-year jobs, and we need people. And for some reason or other, these are not fun jobs. They're hard jobs. They're usually hard work. And a lot of Americans don't really want to do that. They don't really want to work at anything else either. So they're just not working. So we need some kind of immigration visa program along with the deportation. We need to be able to have people that are willing to sponsor or stand for these employees that they've had that maybe have been here a long time and say, I'll verify that they are this, and as long as they work for me, we'll know where they're at, and I'll help the government keep an eye on them, make sure that nothing's going wrong. And we'll work through them like that. And then there's times that they may have to go back and stay gone for a year and then come back. I don't know what all the details will be, but we need something. But we don't need people here illegally, and we definitely don't need criminals here illegally. They need to go. So if anybody would like to give us a holler on that, 704-873-9929. Love to hear from you. We'll talk about that. All right. So, real quick, I think I better go ahead and get into my as crazy as it gets. And once again, they just helped me out so much up there in the city of Chicago. I thought Brandon Johnson was the only crazy person there. Evidently, he's got a whole staff of craziness. So, the city of Chicago's out again. This time, it's the treasurer of the city of Chicago saying that she will boycott buying any U.S. T-bills. She will not be a part of supporting a terrorist regime like Donald Trump. And that's based, Chicagoans do not want us to bankroll the regime, the authoritarian regime of Donald Trump, where he has waged a war on our city. The manager of the city's $10 billion investment portfolio says she made the decision because we will not allow them to pepper spray 1-year-olds in the street. I think she might be getting a little exaggerating right there. We will not allow them to put guns to the heads of everyday citizens. Not allow exactly how. Whether Chicago invests in T-bills and T-bonds, it will not affect federal immigration policies whatsoever. It also won't matter to the Treasury, which can find plenty of other buyers. So what she's doing basically is painting herself into a corner, which we see a lot of crazy as it gets people do. And so over here, it basically talks about one of the aldermen It is pretty well known axiom that the United States Treasury is by far the most liquid and secure debt instrument in the history of the world, Chicago Alderman Bill Conway said at Wednesday's budget hearing. The city's portfolio last year had a 3.6% return. Y'all, I don't know about y'all, but if nothing else, you can about put it anywhere and get more than 3.6%. So I'm starting to question the abilities of this treasurer just plain out for their duty is, which is low. And then it says a 10-year treasury bond right now is trading at above 4% and is risk-free. But she's not going to do that. So her name is, let me find her name here, Melissa Conyers Irving. So Miss Conyers Irving is running for Congress in the 7th Congressional District, which may explain her Treasury boycott if she tries to please Democratic primary voters. If she wins, let's hope she doesn't get a seat on the committee that has anything to do with money or investing. And I think that's so true. We don't need her there. But the funny part, too, know about this, I talked about it the other week. So they're already so far in debt on their budget, and she's determined to make sure she puts them in more riskier investments because in her mind, what they're doing is supporting this evil regime. I want y'all to think about that. And now she's running for Congress, so she'll be one of those 430 people up there that get to make decisions for the trillions of dollars that we spend. Wow. Maybe we can bury her somewhere in some committee that really doesn't do a whole lot. You know, find one. There's got to be one. Wherever Jasmine Crockett is, put her with her. I believe that'd be good to sit together. That'd be just wonderful. All right, so now my number 2, part 2, crazy as it gets. I got to dig this out here a little bit. Is Bill Gates has come clean about clean energy. Now, this is where we're at to a point, and then he basically has said that he's changing his tune on climate change, and that it's really not as an extent. What is it? The word they use? Existential threat to the existence of the human race, like he's been claiming for the last while, and been trying to collect money from everybody to spend on it. Plus, he's spending his own money on it. So now he said more urgent problem afflicting potentially lasting global damage is to fight against famine and life-threatening preventable sickness. Climate change, disease, and poverty are all major problems. We should deal with them in proportion to the suffering they cause. And how he's saying because Trump has cut money to U.S. aid, you know, that's the one that was teaching, I think, lesbian girls in Ghana how to square dance and a few other things. I can't remember now what all it was they had. So anyway, because we cut that, although climate change will have serious consequences, particularly for people in poorest countries, it will not lead to humanity's demise, Gates wrote. This is a chance to refocus on the metrics that should count even more than emissions and temperature change, improving lives. Our chief goal should be to prevent suffering, particularly for those in the toughest conditions who live in the world's poorest countries. Now, I'm pretty sure the name of one of his organizations is the depopulation of the planet Earth. That's the goal, is to depopulate. So I guess now he's wanting to repopulate. I don't know. At one time, he said there was too many of us, and it's all right to have disease and famine to take a bunch of us out, so that way it saves the earth. Now I think he realizes that if he kills off everybody, that might be future customers that he might need. And on top of it all, one of the things that I know is out there is found that, one of the things that's out there is that Bill Gates and Microsoft and all that's going on, they're investing heavily in data centers. And data centers use an incredible amount of energy, more than you can ever get from clean energy probably if you lit up the whole planet with solar panels. Wonder if that's why he's changed his tune. So is he this great humanitarian, or is he just a greedy you-know-what? I'll let y'all decide on that. I've got my own opinions, and I think you know what they are. So I just think it's kind of ironic that all of a sudden he realizes he can't get what he's wanting by one means, so we're going to change direction and go again. So now here is where we're at with the last part 3, crazy as it gets. And I really like doing this segment of the show because there's a lot of crazy out there, folks. It makes it real easy. I can find all kind of material. But this one here has got me a little bit worried about our future and the younger generation. 7 lawsuits have been filed that claim that Chat GPT drove people to suicide. OpenAI is facing 7 lawsuits claiming that Chat GPT, and for y'all that don't know and haven't never used Chat GPT, you ought to try it. It's amazing. If you think the future is going to be something different, just play with Chat GPT a little bit. But anyway, supposedly it drove people to suicide and harmful delusions even when they had no prior mental health issues. The lawsuit filed last Thursday in California's state courts alleges wrongful death, assisted suicide, involuntary manslaughter, and negligence, filed on behalf of 6 adults and 1 teenager by the Social Media Victims Law Center and Tech Justice Law Project. The lawsuits claim that OpenAI knowingly released GPT-40 prematurely despite internal warnings that it was dangerously psychopathic and physiologically manipulative. 4 of the victims died by suicide. OpenAI said it is reviewing the lawsuits. So what I have determined is, basically by looking at some of this here, let me make sure I got it here, that more than 1,000 pages was leading up to the night found that the chatbot repeatedly encouraged the young man as he discussed ending his life right up to his last moment. So what people are doing, and I know it's about that time, is this has become their friend. And they're talking to ChatGPT about what they should do. And ChatGPT, being very accommodating, tends to agree with you. And so if you start down a path, it will lead you or walk with you down that path. So this is really interesting, but folks, I really don't know how you blame a computer program, not in my mindset, to convince you to kill yourself. So we'll see how these lawsuits go. I do notice they're filed in California, so there's a 50-50 chance that ChatGPT is going to be guilty. And I don't know how much time you can make a computer program do in prison. I'm not sure how this works, but we're going to see. Maybe they'll give it the death penalty out in California, but the rest of us still get to use it. All right, folks, we're going to end it up today. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, dear Lord, I pray for people that are obviously out there looking for something. I pray they find you. I pray they read their Bible. I pray they don't talk to a computer program, but they talk to you, Jesus, and ask for forgiveness and your holy blessing upon us. Be with us, lead and guide us. Give us wisdom, Lord, and make sure that the voices we hear are from you, not from something else. In Jesus Christ's name, amen. Folks, until next week, take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Taking Care of NC. We hope today's program offered valuable insights into the topic shaping North Carolina's future. Stay informed, stay engaged, and join us next time as we continue exploring the issues that matter most to our state. Until then, take care and thank you for being a part of the conversation.
Country is 550 AM WAME, 92.9 W225BD, Statesville.
WAME and Bunce Johnson Funeral Home are proud to